So this is going to be about talking about a few things. Wanted to talk about some of my homeless experiences, and my homeless experiences. I don't think I've shared this on at least on Facebook, but I post everything on YouTube. And second, and this is a story of a couple of times that I went to Lawrence, Kansas. The first time I went to Lawrence, Kansas, not the first time, it was a couple of times after, because I've been in Lawrence, Kansas probably like 3 or 4 different times. And one of the second or third time that I had been there, I saw my sister Michaela, and I didn't know that she was my sister. She didn't tell me. She wasn't angry. She seemed to be investigating or kind of watching things, because I honestly feel something bad happened to her. People were targeting her. She knew that there were people that weren't on a good list, that were really wanting to do and violating her life. And anyway, I'm in one of these times that I was in Lawrence, Kansas, and this is a few years ago. I met this guy by the name of Leo Foster, and he was half black, half white, and he kind of, I don't know necessarily if he was just generally half white or half black. He could have had like a half black, half white dad and a white mother, but I think his mom was white. And he told me, I literally met this guy, and I remember off the bus, and we started just chatting and talking, and I was homeless, I was looking for jobs, and I was just kind of basically wandering to different places and trying to get answers from people. And so many people know who I am and have been aware to target me and malicious, nasty things. And I thought, what the heck? Why shouldn't I do something that's compassionate and nice to someone? And I started talking to this guy, and I saw him. The reason I started talking to him was because I saw him limping, and he was limping and he literally has like one leg that he can't move, and he walks like that. He walks with one leg like he's carrying luggage. And he had a horrific car wreck that happened to him, because I began to learn. I asked him why he was like that, and he was a little chubby, but he was perfectly coherent. He can talk, he can communicate, he can go get on the bus. He was perfectly fine, and he remembered a lot of things in life. And he told me, and he said that he got into a car wreck many years ago, and he's pretty young. He's like 25 years old or 27 years old, and he said he was driving really fast, and he was driving a Toyota MR2. For those that don't know, it's a really small car. They're really fast and very quick turning. I used to have a friend that used to have one. I think it was Ricky Box, and they're really kind of cool looking cars. They look like remote control cars, but I recall that car, he said that he was driving and he went over either a speed bump, and I don't know if he passed a red light, but I want to say he said that he lost control of the vehicle, and it ended up flipping and I think running into a pole or flipping over and got into a car wreck. And he told me that he died on the operating table several times, but they brought him back to life. And he showed me where his brain he had actually had some of his skull and brain removed, and on some of his skull. And I didn't notice. He didn't show me the damage in his brain until like 4 or 5 months after hanging out with him. And I would occasionally, I would go to live at the Lawrence Community Shelter, and then I would go downtown Lawrence Community, the Lawrence City, and I would just kind of wander around, go to the library, get things done, fill out applications, go get something to eat, basically figure out what my next plans were going to be. And I got, so every time I would go on the bus, I would see him walking, and when I got to the library and I saw him, and I'd be go, hey, how's it going, man? How you going? And just to see, and this is something that I just did I did this out of just kindness. I really just did this out of kindness. He didn't seem to have any friends. He seemed pretty cool guy. He knew, a lot of people knew who he was, but he would be wandering all throughout Lawrence, the city of Lawrence by himself, just walking. And he would do this sometimes and do that, and to try to take care of himself. And I remember I met him, I think it was before COVID, and then I left, hung out with him, and I said, all right, man, maybe one day I'll see you again. And I probably hung out with him 3 or 4 days out of the week, just walking, talking to him, learning about his life. And I would pay for his meals occasionally, and he would just hang out with him, just keep him in company. He seemed to want to keep company with me and just talk to me. And it was nothing gay, nothing sexual, it was nothing, it was just friends. I felt like I needed to show this guy compassion. And I ended up leaving, say, maybe I'll see you again. I came back and I saw him again, believe it or not. And I saw him like 8 months later or something, or a year later, and when I get back to Lawrence, Kansas. And when I get there, we start hanging out again, and this is, I think, during COVID. And I was living at the Lawrence Community Shelter. My sister was there. And during COVID, I'm not kidding you, I did have quite a bit of money because I was living at the shelter, and they sent everyone a COVID paycheck. And it was like a couple $1,000 or whatever it was. So I figured, out of the things that have been going on in my life, what would Jesus and God want me to do to my fellow human being, right? This guy's disabled. He didn't seem to have family or friends. He was fully aware he wasn't crazy at all. He was very calm. He wasn't crazy at all. And he was very chill, very just chill person. And I literally spent, and like during the COVID, I was hanging around with him for like 4 or 5 months. And I'd always see him. Sometimes he would text me, and he would be like, hey man, let's go meet up over at the church. They're having free breakfast. Hey man, let's go meet up over at the library. We can go get something to eat. I don't have anything to do. I go there, restaurant, and I paid for all the meals. I'd stop by a smoothie factory. I go to Buffalo Wings. I'm not kidding you. I would pay for all these meals. I literally spent, and I counted how much. I literally spent like close to $700 to $800, and believe it or not, on this guy. This is a total stranger. I've never met this guy, other than I met this guy before, prior to me being homeless and seeing him kind of just wandering around like I was, and like several other people. He was disabled, and I didn't even know this guy. And I really don't know much about him, but I felt the need and I felt compassion toward him don't worry about it, man. Life's short. You're going through a lot in life. I literally spent $700 or $800 of my own money to pay for this guy's meals, smoothies. Like, hey man, what do you want? You want a smoothie? Yeah, don't worry about it, man. I got you. I'll pay for it, man. Don't worry. God has blessed me with some cash and just trying to help you out, man. And I literally spent $700, $800 in the accumulation of about 4 to 5 months free on this guy. I would go to Buffalo Wings. The bill would be like, and keep in mind that I wouldn't be eating at restaurants and paying for my own meals, which is even pricier, because it costs me money than I have to spend, and I don't really want to eat at a restaurant. I only was eating at the restaurants he wanted to eat at. So I'll be like, where do you want to go eat? And he'd choose like Buffalo Wings. Man, it's like $45 when you get done after a meal and drinks and tips. It's like $50. And I would go over to another Chili's and get a restaurant meal, meal there, and it would cost me another $40, $50, and I would go 3 or 4 days out of the week with him, and then we'd stop by, or like he'd call me the next day. We'd go early in the morning to the smoothie factory, walk around for a little bit, and then we'd a couple hours later, as we're walking, we would go get something to eat over at a Buffalo Wings or something. And this is out of the entire kindness and empathy that I did for this person. I don't know this guy. I don't have to be around this guy. I don't hate him. I'm homeless. I'm going through a lot of stuff. And I give the guy the time and day and attention of this fellow human being, that his life matters. And he was really chill. He was a really chill person. And, he walked with a limp and has his arms sort of tucked in because one part of his body was paralyzed because of the car accident, because he lost some of his brain. I asked him about his accident and whatnot, and I thought I'd share this video that a total stranger that I didn't even know I spent $700 or $800 on. I don't even know if he's still alive. I don't know whatever happened to him, but I just know that the last time that I went to Lawrence, Kansas, some guy randomly showed up, and it was some Mexican guy at a far bench away from me, and he just kind of looked at me very sad, and he kind of looked at me and he says he died of a heart attack and stroke. And I don't know if he was talking about my biological father, which I thought he was, talking about my biological father. Michaela, my sister, was no longer working there at that time. And on top of that, whenever I got there, when I was at the library waiting for a bus, I didn't know who he was talking about. I thought he was maybe talking about my father, Raymond Palomo, because he did die of a heart attack and stroke. But I think he could have been talking about that guy, because he was sort of obese. Obviously, I always try to choose, and I was always trying to help this guy, like to eat healthy. I'd be like, when we choose the meals, I'd always reference health eating, make sure. And I was really catering, taking care of this guy. I didn't even know who he was, and I spent $700 or $800 altogether. My own money, which I've never done any in my life to anybody. And a total stranger, met him. He was disabled. Keep him company, keep him busy. And he told me about his life. I tried looking him up on Facebook, and he does have an Instagram, and I think he had a Facebook. I remember contacting him through Instagram, but I don't know if I could find his Facebook or not. But I remember talking to him, and he told me, he said that he was adopted, and I never went to his house. I'd only see him just walking, and he'd kind of joke around, but he was weird because he was fully functional. Even though he had a car accident, he was intelligent, fully functional. He was not. And I asked him what his life was like. What kind of life did he have prior to his accident? And he told me he really doesn't remember much of it, other than he does remember a few things. And he says that he lived a very reckless life, and he was just very passive and reckless. And he says that everyone that's ever known him says that he's much more now settled and much more settled in life. Like, he's more calmed down to not really wanting to live a wild life. But he said he used to live like a wild life. And I think he told me at one time, he said that either someone tried stabbing him, or he stabbed someone in a fight because they were stabbing him, or some scenario of this situation before his car accident. But he told me, he said he didn't live a very good, all that really good life prior. But I thought I'd make a video that, there's so many homeless stories that I've come across, and buying people meals, and which no one ever did to me. I had very few people in life ever buy something for me. I maybe had, if I can count all the situations, maybe like 2 or 3 times in my entire 15 years of being homeless. You would be astonished and blown away the distances that I was walking, the people that I came in contact with, the sheer number of people. And there was, I would only say 3 is going up way too much. I think it was something like twice. I had somebody from like McDonald's buy me some biscuits once. It was very nice. That was about it. I never had any, I think, some other places, no more than 2-3 times. And here I am spending $700 on this guy for free. You know, choose whatever you want to eat, smoothies, as long as it's healthy, no drinking. I did drink a couple times around him at a restaurant, just a few times. Not drunk or anything like a beer. And, but other than that, I was just walking throughout the entire city and taking the bus to locations and throughout Lawrence, which is a very small city. But I thought I'd make a video on that. I don't know if this guy's still alive. To me, this is, at the time I was talking to him, why my sister, the last time I talked to him was whenever I saw him when my sister was there, working there during COVID. And it's a very, very boggling thing to me why, I mean, I was showing this guy compassion and my sister was working there and I had no idea. I initially thought that someone sent him to come talk to me. He kept me company as well. I don't know what happened. I don't know whatever happened to that guy. I don't know if he's passed away, because I hadn't seen this guy probably in 3 years. It's probably been 3 years since I've probably seen this guy. Maybe 4 at most, but I'd say about 3 years. 3 or 4 years. And I mean, you can imagine that, you know, when somebody is already stroking and missing part of the brain and is a little bit obese, there's chances of a heart attack and stroke could very much happen. But you know, I remember I saw him, ate breakfast, talked to him for a little while, and then off I went to some of the other destinations to travel. I told him, hey, I'm going to be taking a plane, bus to Kansas City, taking a plane, yada yada, and heading out. Maybe I'll see you again, man. I gotta go. I talked to him, gave him a farewell, and that was it. But I thought I'd make a video. On this. You know, there's been so many circumstances where I'd bought people meals, I'd given people $20, I'd give $5. When you have all this attention that's going on around you, besides people wanting to persecute me, people will always try to take advantage of me in every way that they can. And even when the attention is going around me, they'll ask me for money all the time. They'll ask me for cigarettes, constantly ask me for money. Somebody will ask me if I can buy them, you know, $2, $3, or, you know, give them $5. And I get nervous sometimes because I don't want them, you know, I could be pulling out my wallet, you know, snatch money, snatch my wallet, or, you know, strike me or stab me. I never know what can happen, even though I think the best of the circumstances. I never know what a crazy homeless person can be or what their intentions are, because I've had so many bad circumstances happen to me. So, it's very, many of these times when I was around people, you know, I felt empathetic for these people, because even though I was homeless, I could take care of myself much more better than they could, and because I can take care of myself really well, but it's just that I'm being forced to be put in these circumstances because of the electronic devices that they've been using on me. You know, beating me with these electronic devices all over my body. But you know, I thought I'd make a video on this. You know, the compassion that I showed to a fellow human being that was in great company, and I'm still blown away to this day that I spent that kind of money on a total stranger. He did have a disability, and he used to go to eat at a Chinese restaurant, and always in great company, man. Like, I thought of Jesus, and I thought of, you know, Jesus and God, and be like, you know, God would want me to help this guy out. You know, nobody was. I could tell you there's not one single person that I had ever come across this guy wanted to help this guy, but I did. And he had like dreadlocks. I don't know what they call them, dreadlocks. It wasn't just necessarily, it wasn't braided, but it was like, I think they call them dreadlocks, like the Jamaicans have. And I remember, I don't know if he was joking one time or not, but he showed me his phone and his bank account. I don't know if it was real or not. And he had, it looked like it said he had like $100,000 in his bank account. And I'm like, I just spent all this money on this guy, and this guy has $100,000 in his bank account. But he showed me, I don't know if it was legitimate or not. I'm like, is that real? And I kind of thinking, I was like, is someone telling him to show this shit? Because I'm telling you, I've had so many crazy situations of hacking and delusional shit that people have done to me that I really don't know what to believe when they have to say something or someone's trying to poison my mind. So I usually just shrug it off and try to ignore it. But that's what happened. And it's very wild, you know, because, you know, I've had people steal money from me constantly. You know, I would book a room I would book a room on Craigslist, and I would send them a deposit, and they would steal money from me. In New York, I had somebody steal $300 of a deposit from me. I sent them $300 for a room in New York City, and they robbed me. And when I got there, it was an empty hotel. It was an empty place, and they just stole my money. And I've gone to places that I'd speak to people over the phone constantly, where they say, yeah, I got a room for you, just send me $50, and they tell me about their life and all this other shit. And then as soon as I send them the money, I say, okay, I'll be moving in, and I'll call you in about 4 days when ready to move in. I call them 4 days later, they don't pick up the phone at all. And I call them like 7 or 8, 15 different times, repeatedly, texting them, emailing it, and there's no response, and they'll just up and leave and steal my money. So there's been a constant behavior of people, the people that are stalking me and getting on the internet, doing all this shit to me, have stolen so much money that I've earned from my disability and from any other ways. It is astounding. Altogether, in the homeless experiences that I've gone through, I've probably had about, I would estimate in the last, somewhere probably around $4,000 or $5,000. And I'm not kidding. This is me having to spend money where in the last, since I've been homeless since I was about 30 years old, and I'm 42 now, where I've had people steal $100 from me here, $150 from me here, to steal a deposit. I've had so many people steal money from me that I began to lose count because I couldn't go to the police anymore, because the people that were tapping my phone kept on robbing me. The people that were hacking into my accounts kept on robbing me. And because I had so many enemies, and the gay community was targeting me, whenever I tried to book a room and it was a gay, they would find out who I was, and they would try to figure out how to persecute me and get at me. And they didn't know who I was. So the people that were organizing this were trying to use the population of the homosexuals and transgenders entirely against me, while they were beating me with electronic devices. So then every time I tried to defend myself and make it look like I was just wanting to slur people because they were faggots and they were gays, and that wasn't the case. It was because they were beating the shit out of me. So the people that were doing this were very extremely intelligent to cause many and hateful people to come at me. This is why I've had a murder attempt happen to me. I was raped by a transgender. This is why the electronic devices continue to do it, because unless these electronic devices are detected and found out where they're being placed and why, it's never going to stop, because the person that's doing it is entirely relying on the faulty errors that's going to happen to me or someone else in their reactions to eventually something bad to happen. And so anyway, I thought I'd make a video on this because about what they're doing. But I recall they weren't shooting me with very many electronic devices when I was around this guy Leo, but his name was Leo Foster. And I've thought about it a couple of times, maybe going to Lawrence, Kansas, and see if I come across him again. Um, but I really don't know the circumstances. It's a very small city. I don't believe my sister may be working there again. I don't think I'll see her there. I'm just total boggled by the idea of where my sister Michaela is, because I will keep looking for her. I know that she was in Dallas, Texas, and she saw me, and she went to Lawrence, Kansas. And then I saw her in Washington, D.C. Then I know that her transportation and her traveling trips is to designate herself to be in my environment some way or another, because I never knew where she was or who she was. Hopefully come in contact and talk to her again. Pray to God. But maybe I've been thinking, maybe to go to Lawrence, Kansas, maybe after I finish the CNA class, go there for a little while. My dad was a registered nurse and graduated from that college campus. So anyway, I thought I'd make a video on this and share some compassion that I didn't have to spend time with this guy. I go to watch a movie with this dude, and I paid for all his meals. I paid for the entire meals everywhere we went. I gave this guy the attention today that nobody would give this guy. And God bless. Hopefully he's still alive out there somewhere. But so many other stories I come across, and really bad ones, really, really bad ones. Scary. I'm going into, I've had circumstances where I've walked into apartments, and when I get there, it's like a couch, like a bed on the floor. It looks like an abandoned apartment. They're charging me money. They look very suspicious. When I'm talking to these guys, they look very vile toward me. Like, they know who I am, and they know somebody's stalking me and controlling me, and they take advantage of that circumstances and then come at me for it. But I thought I'd make a video because, I've been in some circumstances where I thought they were going to rape me. Like, I thought that was just their dudes were going to jump out of a fucking room, a group of them, and they were just going to beat the fuck out of me and rape the shit out of me, and I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Very scary. I've been in places where so many stories. I mean, I could tell you, like, I went to Alaska and I met this guy, and this transgender, which I had no idea, what I was getting into. I was so desperate. It takes me to middle of nowhere, Nakona. You see Confederate flags, Ku Klux Klan memorabilia, and racist shit out in the front yard like a junkyard. I mean, and there's bullet holes all over like these cars and shit. Don't know if these KKK individuals could kill my ass. And living down a street, and I'm talking about there's like no one. It's like a street road into mountains. There's only like 2 or 3 houses and like 100-mile radius. I'm not even joking. Like, this is all wilderness. All of it is like deep Alaska wilderness. And I remember going with him in a car, or this transgender was like female to male, or male to female. I couldn't tell. But I remember this individual was eating fruit roll-ups all the time, very heavy set. And they talked about their life, telling me this and that, and they knew things about my life they shouldn't have known, because I had just met this person. I get to this place in Nakona, and we're going to their job site in the morning, and he takes me to like this wooded area. Like, how like if you're going to kill someone, you're going to take them in your car, take them to a wooded area, and you say, oh yeah, just, or you have somebody kidnapped. This is exactly what it looked like. I got fucking nervous and scared because he drove into this dirt road like out of nowhere. Like, we're going to his car. He said, hold on, I gotta make a short trip somewhere. And he just turns in this area, and I'm thinking gas station or stop by a house, and this is in like wilderness, still in the wilderness area. Just you're going through these deep valley roads, and he stops by and he goes off road into this dirt road, and then he starts driving into this, and he parks, and I'm thinking like there's a murder. This guy's gonna kill me, or someone is gonna surround the fucking car and kill. And I don't know what it was, but I want to say I think someone showed up, or someone was supposed to show up. And this wasn't part of the plans, and he didn't tell me this. And then we're waiting there for like 15 minutes, and I'm like, who's going to show up? But I'm nervous. I'm thinking like, I could get killed out here, and no one's going to find my body. And, this seems like a planned out murder or some shit. I was very nervous, and I was like ready to like thinking to myself, I have to get out of the car and start running. I mean, I'm telling you, he just drove into this wooded area, into like this open field. The cars couldn't see us, and I was thinking this is like a perfect place. Like if you were going to kill someone and kidnap them and throw their body and bury them, this is a place where you would probably do something like that. And I was scared. But sure enough, he didn't do anything. About 20 minutes later, we ended up leaving, going about our ways, and that was it. I've had scary situations, and the list goes on, and you won't even imagine, carrying a backpack that weighs, 15 pounds constantly in all the places I'm going, people tracking me, total strangers in the gay community and transgenders have been dispatched my location and a profile of me. Approach me in restaurants, spitting at me at restaurants. I've had total people show up when I'm eating at a restaurant with no money in Alaska at Denny's, telling me they were going to have me murdered, whispering shit that they were going to have me murdered. I've had people, as I'm sleeping in the wooded area in this trail near University, Anchorage University, walk by me and then start, throwing trash. I'd walk into pizza parlors, and these are like really remote areas, and these people know exactly who I am. Like they know that this guy is a guy that hates our gays, wants to persecute our gays. We have to get rid of his life and make him suffer because he's retaliating against what's ours. And it's just a team. It's crazy because I never came across any heterosexual women at all. It was some of the most craziest shit. Like they just disappeared. Every time I started going to all the airports. When I went to all the airports, when I went to all the different places, there were only transgenders. They had removed all females to come in contact to any heterosexual female at all to be entirely not involved in anyone in my life, to approach me, to work, whether that's to deliver a meal while I'm in my hotel. Wow, that's I've had some of the craziest shit you can't even imagine. Like, I remember being in Alaska, and I somehow got into this hotel. It was a really nice hotel. It was like a $300 a night hotel, and it was like a cabin, and it was in the city. And I think I was in I think it was like I got sent to a mental hospital for some reason. I couldn't find my way out, and so they booked me in, threw me in a psychiatric room. I talked to them, and then I left. And they said, well, I told them I don't have any money to leave the city and get on a plane and leave. I said, don't worry, we'll book a night for you to a hotel, and we'll pay for your flight to get out of here. And I said, okay, perfect. Oh, I'm so happy. So they paid for a night there. I walk into this hotel, and it was really nice. Like, it was a really, really elegant place. And was it Anchorage, or was it, because I went from Anchorage, Alaska to Ketchikan. No, before I got to Ketchikan, I went to, it was in Ketchikan. It was a hotel in Ketchikan, I want to say. And the lady came in early in the morning, came and picked me up in a van and dropped me off, and she was a real woman. I remember her being a Mexican lady, like a pretty Mexican lady. She kind of reminded me of someone I used to know. And it was one of the most wildest experiences because I have no money. I'm not on disability yet. It's very scary to go out there because I've come across such situations where animals could attack you, mooses charging at me, snakes. One of the biggest things is critters and bugs. You know, sleeping in parks and wooded areas because wolves and all different kinds of animals you never know can approach you and kill you out there. And it's really bad terrain. And out there, the police officers won't reach you. If there was like a bear attack, they wouldn't reach you till like 5 minutes, 10 minutes at least. And by then you're dead. I mean, the distance that they have, the number of cops that they have are very, very little. But anyway, I thought I'd make a video on this, and you know, the list goes on and on. I can't tell you the things that I've come in contact with, and some of them which I thought were fake, like, you know, people washing their clothes, and when I was in Denver, Colorado, hanging up their clothes underneath the bridge, like washing their clothes in the rivers and shit, and I'm like, and it was like some white nerdy looking guys. I'm like, these guys don't look like they're homeless. Gosh, man, and I'm telling you, I'd walk into like 7-Eleven every day to get like a hot dog and chips or something for fuel. I'd walk in there and there'd be like 4 or 5 people rush in there knowing who I was, and they were all being dispatched. The entire gay community was working all together, and they have a certain network all with one another that once my location is found, they start dispatching and telling all the gay community and transgender that's where he is. And then they would come at me. Now keep in mind, not everyone would attack me. Some just gave me a dirty look. Some would just wanted to see him just to take a look at me. But when you put 1,000 people in a fucking city to come attack me and know who I am and want to persecute me, how many of them do you think really want to kill you? How many of them will put cyanide, poison inside your food? How many people do you think will do that to you? Many. So you will come across people that will. You will come across people that will rape you. Not everyone. You could probably talk to a bunch of other gay guys too, and they'll tell you themselves too. There's some crazy fucking gay guys out there that probably rape them as well. Well, you come across so many people, you come across people that are professionals as well, that look like they have money, they look very well put together, and they're pedophiles. They will poison your ass. They will do things to you to make sure your life comes to an end. And you suffer, and they're perfectly fine, healthy mentally, they even got an education. And you come across those people, and those people are very hard to detect because they don't look like your normal average person. They look like a professional. They look like a professional that's well put together, and that's not the case. They're very dark and evil. But you know, it's insane. I mean, I'm walking on buses and trains, and you know, they would work as a team. The bus drivers, the Greyhound bus drivers, would be looking at their rearview mirror, looking to see who's following me, because I honestly knew somebody was trying to help me. Somebody was trying to assist me. And all the majority, about 85%, 90% of all of them were always trying to make sure they get any heterosexual women or anybody that may feel the situation to help me to make my life as miserable and as hard as they possibly could. And the way to do that is deter from anyone around me. So if a lot of people are being told my GPS location, some of them may reveal my location and saying, hey, this really is happening to him. This is why some celebrities got involved or knew about my life. But the stories are unbelievable in some cases. You collect so much hatred from people, you start to not even want to care. It's a very sad life. It's a very, very sad life because, especially for me, because I'm very goal oriented when it came to wanting to go to school, wanting to be a successful person in life. I never thought that I would be thrown into the streets, nearly digging in trash cans for food, making doctor visits as I was waiting for my cancer diagnosis to be not not be a cancer diagnosis. I remember living underneath the bridge and waiting for my cancer because I thought I had cancer, and there was a good chance that I had cancer. And I was living underneath the bridge. Slime, snakes, roaches were crawling all over me. I'm not kidding. I was living in a swampy area in Carrollton, just a mile from where I lived. I remember being in Alaska, and Seattle, Washington, and Denver. When you come across, and even in Dallas, when you come across a situation where you genuinely felt that you were going to you have to start digging in trash cans for food. And I mean, there's food in the trash that people are throwing. And there's the food stamp office is attacking me. The people are trying to hit me with their cars. They're running into restaurants. And I had like $20. And I had asked people for money, and they wouldn't help me. It was horrific. The things that people were doing to me to taunt me as I was a worthless life was at a scale that you could never endure and imagine. Most people, I believe, would never come out normal alive again. And to know the hatred, I mean, I'm not kidding you, they would stalk me so much that knew every place that I was going to by mapping me out on Google. Like my walking destinations, they know I'm going to be looking for a place to sleep. Looks like there's going to be a place for him to sleep. Looked like he's fixing to walk up there. Just to make sure, go tell some people to go throw some half-eaten sandwiches at the corner of this back of this recreation center. And I would go there, and there was no one that you could tell would be going there. And I would see a half-eaten sandwich and like a half-drunken soda, a bottle from McDonald's. And there would be no one there. You could tell that this was, and they would do shit like that to me. And they cut me off from like food stamps when I would make phone calls when I was in Denver, Seattle a few times. They would start throwing food, tacos from Jack in the Box all over the floor. They would bring their dogs, and where the places where I was sleeping underneath bridges and behind buildings, the people would be told where I was, and they would bring their golden retriever, their like fucking lab, or their Saint Bernard. They would bring their 150-pound dog to come literally shit all over the fucking floor. Like they wouldn't even tell them to shit on the grass, where even it was where I was like sleeping. They would go and they would shit all over the fucking ground. I swear this is what they would do. They would shit all over the fucking ground so that I wouldn't be able to sleep there. And there was no other place for me to sleep, and I'd have to walk an hour and a half to some middle of nowhere underneath a tree, sleeping in empty tree, underneath trees. I mean, it was, and this is cold when it's raining. And for those that don't know, Seattle, Washington rains a lot, and it has a lot of moisture, which is a very bad element when you're in the rain. You start smelling, it's just a very bad circumstances when you get there. A lot of moisture in the air. I've come across situations. I would be living underneath the bridge. I'd go to this. I'd be working in this place where I'd be packing up champagne bottles, working for 5 or 6 hours, endlessly making $10 an hour, working very hard. And I would be living underneath the bridge, starving to death. Like I would be fucking hungry because I didn't have any fucking money. I wasn't on disability. I was getting like $100 on unemployment, or I was waiting for my unemployment to kick in, and I couldn't get anything to give my unemployment, so I had to call companies to work. So when they would hire me, I would only work for 1 day. I'd only work for 2 days. But it still makes me cry. It still makes me emotional that I was in situations where I was being forced to, and I never did, to dig into trash cans for food because my life had no value to it anymore. I couldn't, you have that many people spit at you or try to hit you with their cars on a daily basis because of the chaos that's going on. You no longer feel that you can even ask people for money, you could ask them for anything, because they may get violent. And I would literally be like, let me walk through, because the police officers wouldn't do anything, and they would antagonize the situation to the civilians that go attack them. Ah ha ha! Look at the worthless piece of shit. We're gonna kill him. Like, and this is how their behavior was. It was like Nazi soldiers. It was like Nazi individuals going against Jews. A very heavy persecution, and they would all work together. And it was only gays and transgenders. It was no one else. It was not one heterosexual female that was doing any of this. It was only gays and trans. It was only coming from the gay community, only from them. But anyway, I thought I'd make a video. Hope to God that never happens. I never forced to, but the beatings, it's hard to express when you get placed in those circumstances in real life, where the police, they won't do nothing, and if these people tell me to eat in a trash can, then I will, or may have to at all costs, because they'll prevent people from giving me money. They'll prevent people. They'll cut off my food stamps or whatever it may be, my disability, or not my disability, my disability, or mostly my unemployment, because they've denied my unemployment. At this point in my life, every time that I've gone to all these cities, whoever's controlling my unemployment is entirely doing it on a personal basis. They don't allow me to have unemployment here in Texas anymore. I've caught them with several lies over the phone, so I know that whoever's tapping my phone is giving me false information to intentionally sabotage me repeatedly, because they know who I am. The less money I have, the more suffering I go through, and that's what they've been doing. Anyway, I thought I'd make a video on this, that's kind of what's going on. The devices don't ever stop. Please believe me when I say this, they don't ever stop.